Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all well. You're very welcome to this morning's webinar. You might pop a good morning into the chat function just to let me know that you can hear me okay. Just to make sure the volume is working. Good morning, Shane. Good morning from sunny Wicklow. Yeah, it's sunshine here in Dublin. But it is freezing cold. I think we were led into a false sense of security with the weather that we had last week. We've had our day of sunshine now and good weather. Good morning, everyone. Morning, Stephanie. Good to see everyone. So that's great. So I see people are coming in there. So look, you're very welcome to this morning's webinar. You're here because you're interested in the whole area of how to be certified as a great place to work. How does it work, and what benefits would it bring, of course, to your organization? And we're delighted. What we decided to do today was, rather than us talk about how wonderful the program is, we would chat with a client to hear from their lived experience with the program. And I'm really looking forward to catching up with Cloudera, with Jamie and with Kira, who I'll introduce now in a minute. Please pop your questions, your comments, your thoughts into the chat function. We will try and make it as interactive as we can, and of course deal with your questions as we go. So look, I'm conscious we've a mix of organizations on the call all around the country. Just to kind of bring everyone into the same space, if you like, I thought I'd share maybe just 2 slides around the Great Place to Work certified program. Okay, and just a couple of comments on this slide. The basis for what we do in Great Place to Work is the Great Place to Work employee survey. Okay, and that's the basis for the recognition, and it's the basis for the insights that we provide back to the organization. To be certified as a great place to work, you must do 2 things. We'll administer the survey for all of your employees. And if you hit the threshold of 65% or higher, when we average out all the agrees and strongly agrees to the questions, and you'll be certified as a great place to work. The other thing that you have to do is submit what we call as a culture brief, which is an Excel file that is a series of demographical information on your business, male, female, breakdown, years of service. Takes about an hour and a half to complete the culture brief. So the survey that we'll administer, we'll send you the culture brief, you fill that in. Once you hit the threshold, then you're certified as a great place to work. That certification is valid for 1 year. So an opportunity to tell people internally that you're a great place to work and help retain talent, and of course tell the marketplace, tell the talent that you're looking to attract that you're certified as a great place to work. So a good way to source new talent as well. And then just finally on the next slide, just there's a question we're always asked is, what does the survey cover? And the survey, the Great Place to Work survey, covers 17 categories. Okay, and just this slide is giving you a sense as to what these categories cover. Everything from communication and involvement to well-being to CSR. And all employees will complete this survey. And it seems to be covering everything an organization needs in terms of learning about the strengths of their people and culture, but also some actions that they can work on in terms of improving their culture. And when we look at the data, we can look at the data in terms of the male-female breakdown, years of service, look at the data by function, by department, and we're able to identify, is there any specific part of the business that needs to be looked at in terms of improvement. And I know a question we were submitted before the session was, what sort of response rates do we look at? Last year, in terms of the Great Place to Work survey, we would have received on average about 75% as the response rate to the survey, and that's across all the organizations that we work with. So hopefully that helps in terms of just giving everyone a sense as to the certified program. And of course, we're happy to provide more details at any stage. So now moving on to the lived experience in terms of the program, we're absolutely delighted to welcome Cloudera to the webinar, and we have a double act with us, Jamie and Ciara. We could say Torval and Dean were a great double act, right? But we're delighted that they could join us. And just to introduce both, Jamie is Senior Director, Global Commercial Operations with the business now for 5 years. Jamie has played a key role in Cloudera, in building Cloudera in terms of a center of excellence. Currently at 200 employees, and Cloudera is growing. So 200 employees, and they're growing. And just in case we all weren't feeling depressed enough, Jamie, in his spare time, has decided to do a PhD in business model innovation. Jamie, what are you doing to us? And Jamie actually partnered with Great Place to Work in a previous life, in a previous role. So he has lots of experience in terms of Great Place to Work. The final thing I'll say is he's managed to do something that none of us have been able to do, and that's travel on holidays to Portugal a number of weeks ago. And we're looking forward to hearing about that, Jamie. Also then with Jamie, we have Ciara, who's Senior HR Business Partner for EMEA, 6 years with the business. And Ciara has played a critical role in, I would say, putting people at the center of how Cloudera operate and how they think. They have a people first culture in Cloudera. And Ciara plays a key role in shining the light on just how important people are in terms of driving business outcomes. So Jamie and Ciara, you're both very welcome. Thanks for joining us. And they're together, connected in the office as well, which is great to see, right? So it's brilliant to see. So perhaps just to start us off, a question for both, right? And I'm going to start with you first, Jamie, if that's okay. Something that organizations are always thinking about is the timing around Great Place to Work. Like, when is the right time to start? So I'm interested, Jamie, in kind of why now for Cloudera? Like, why did you choose now as the time to embark on the Great Place to Work journey?
Yeah, first and foremost, Cathal, thanks so much for having us with you today. One thing we won't commit to is to doing the bolero like Torval and Dean, right? So we'll stick to Great Place to Work for today. But I guess thinking about it, right, maybe I'll give the external perspective on the why, and Ciara can talk about the internal perspective. We've been on a journey, right, over the last 6 years, building a center of excellence here in Ireland, right? We started with less than a handful of people in a small room, and we've grown to nearly over 200 people now at this point, right? We've become a multidisciplinary site, people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different perspectives, and certainly a breadth of roles now in the organization that we felt it would be good to recognize and go through the process of certification. Several of us in the organization have partnered with Great Place to Work in different companies, right? And we've truly seen the value that it holds, not just for the employees, but for prospective candidates as well. I think you alluded to that earlier, Cathal, that this is an opportunity for us when we're not a household name in the Irish market, but we're growing, right? And we're bullish about that growth, and we want to continue that growth, and we want to be recognized as an employer of choice, right? So we saw that as an opportunity to create this badge of honor, and through the certification process, give ourselves the chance to go to market, right? I think selfishly, I suppose, as a management team, we could see that the cultural identity was forming, and we wanted to see how far we had come on that journey. And I think taking the plunge and partnering with yourselves gave us that opportunity to get an external perspective, learn from, I suppose, the leaders in the market, and understand how we could apply some of the thinking from Great Place to Work principles and then improve what we're doing.
Yeah, no, totally agree with all that. I think from the internal perspective, and kind of relating back to Jamie's point then on how we've grown, and look how we've scaled the business up to over 200 people in quite a short period of time. It put us in that unique position, I suppose, where everyone here really has been very pivotal in terms of making Cloudera what it is today. You know, there's a very high sense of pride, I think, in the organization, but very ambitious, I think we see as a culture. And I think it was giving, you know, everybody the opportunity to have a chance to kind of be brought on this journey. And it is a journey. I think that's really key as well when we talk about why now. It's almost like, why not now? We need to start somewhere. You know, it's so well supported by Great Places to Work and the partnership there. For us, it was just such a thoroughly enjoyable experience in terms of support we had. But for the teams, I think really it was people to understand where we are, as Jamie said, in the market, but also internally celebrate our successes. What are we doing well, and where are we at, and benchmark ourselves in terms of driving forward as a group and an organization. So I think that drove it for us in terms of the why now question. Great,
thanks, Ciara. And sort of when you were having that discussion, right, was there any concerns or fears, or what were the concerns or fears on the part of individuals in the business or the organization?
No, absolutely, Cathal, right? I guess for us, there was probably two key areas, right, that kind of gave us food for thought as we embarked on the process, right? So first and foremost was timing, right? When is the right time to do this, right? So we decided to embark on the journey 12 months into the pandemic, right? When we had been working fully remote, right? For over 12 months at that stage. We talked about our growth journey in terms of onboarding people, but we had onboarded nearly 100 people virtually, right? So we had always kind of hung our hat on the fact that we built a great culture when we were there in person, and felt that the kind of the epicenter and the hub of our office had become a genuinely great place to work collaboratively, right? But we wanted to understand that the initiatives that we'd kind of put into place while working remote to kind of maintain that connectivity was still being maintained. So there was that trepidation of, right, is now the right time when we haven't had that human connection, when we felt that was something so important to us. Yeah. So I think that was the first. Probably the other piece was, right, for us to do it as a site, as our Ireland Centre of Excellence, right? We are still a global multinational, right? So there was always that hesitation of, is now the right time, right? But also, are we okay to do this as a standalone entity, or should we take a full global approach? So we did have to explore that, and we had to have the conversations with our leadership team across the company to say, right, do the pros outweigh the cons, all right? And I think for us, I think the survey, the certification process, it was a strong litmus test. And I think the sponsorship that we got from our exec team was, go do it, be an incubator for the company. And if it's a success, you will learn as a site regardless. But if we work well, this is something that can be a springboard for growth. And that's how we'll go and develop the partnership. And most importantly, can we develop it together from Ireland and be the kind of the benchmark for the rest of the world?
Brilliant. And of course, part of being a centre of excellence is leading the charge sometimes on some of these important things. And Ciara, thinking about then, so moving ahead with the programme, again, another point that's interesting for companies, I think, is how do you position it then internally? So decision made to move ahead with the programme. How did you go about positioning it?
Yeah, this one was absolutely key for us, I think. Looking at it at a philosophical level, how do we pitch this in the organization? I've talked again about our journey there, you know, our growth. We have a sense of camaraderie in Cloudera. We're in that position. Everyone was involved in growing Cloudera to what it is today. So really it was driving that this is a project kind of for us, by us. And I mean that as a site-wide. So practically looking at it, putting together our project teams, really important for us to make sure that we had diversity across the organization from representatives on the project team. We needed to ensure that across all our business units, we had key representatives and advocates. I think that was hugely important and actually critical in terms of how we drove success from a project management perspective. Internally as well, just at that point in time, we had just come out of an awful lot of our internal global surveys that we do across engagement, diversity, etc. And survey fatigue is real. So I think the pitch becomes hugely important to drive engagement and participation. And I think really getting that out there that, you know, people's voices needed to be heard and you know, why we were doing this was key. That kind of leads me on to the communication plan as part of that, looking at it practically. Two-pronged approach really on our communications plan. And we built something pretty structured, I think, around comms. It is key. Firstly, you know, looking at the exec awareness and sponsorship and driving that. But secondly, I suppose the second point then, bringing everyone on the journey. We did a lot of communications pre-survey, pre-launch, and we conducted manager town halls and then employee-wide town halls, really delving into the why, the what, the who, the how, and the when, opening the floor for questions. So everybody, I think, across the whole Irish site had a very clear understanding of why we were doing this, how, you know, their involvement was key. And then that continued through. So communicating back out town halls once we had our results, you know, celebrating in the successes together. But they'd be the two things, I think, how you pitch it and the comms plan, I think were two essential points from our perspective, I think.
Brilliant, Ciara, yeah. So that sense of sort of, this is not a HR initiative, this is a sort of a company initiative started even pre-survey, getting people involved, explaining what it is. Yeah, fantastic. And then of course that follows then all the way through. So that's a really useful thing. Just on the exec sponsorship piece, just the practical ways that they sponsored the program. Was it playing a role in the town halls, or was it other practical ways that they sponsored the program or showed that support?
I think from the outset, it was, okay, engage on the why. Why are we doing this and why are we doing it now, right? So that was probably first and foremost from an exec perspective. What does this mean for the company? What does this mean for the employees? And articulating that vision. And then giving that credence to the project team, Cathal. I suppose they wanted this to be a project by the people, for the people, to coin the cliche, right? But they were 100% behind the team. So at any stage in the project, if we needed them to come on and rally to support in terms of survey completion and the benefits of doing so, to rally behind the message, to celebrate, to kind of articulate why this has been an important journey. And then I suppose taking it forward, what will we do next, right? And helping the teams to understand that this isn't being done in silo, that this isn't being done in site, that this is something that we will do here in our Centre of Excellence and build it then onto the global scale.
Brilliant. Thank you both. And so we're in partnership. We'll run the survey results then come in. So thinking about sort of that feedback session then back into the leadership team, presenting the results. How did you find that? And was there any surprises, I guess, in the results that you received?
Yeah. Carl, if you'll indulge me, right, let me take 30 seconds, right, just to kind of give a kudos to you and the team, right? Because I think before we even got to the survey results and the feedback sessions, for anyone that's considering going on the process, the support that's there from the Great Place to Work team is phenomenal, right? So from Brian and Claire at the initial onset of the client relationship and engagement, Marina, Joseph, Anthony, Jim, and the team who helped us through kind of the actual process of certification, to yourself, Fania, and the team who've helped us kind of project the journey. I think that experience and that wealth of knowledge helped us on the path, right? So I think just to call out that, I suppose, and shameless plug for the team, but that support network that's there throughout. Fast forward then to kind of the feedback session itself, I suppose that the key benefit for us is probably that it's multi-layered feedback, right? So the Great Place to Work team engaged with us on various levels. It wasn't a case of, here's your presentation deck, and at the end of the deck you have 10,000 data points to try and disseminate yourself and figure a path, right? We really walked through the results, right? The team helped us to think about how we would interpret those results, and more importantly, how we'd actually go and communicate those, and helped us on the path of how do you actually take those survey results and make them meaningful for your teams, right? So we had our own ideas on how we would do it, but to have that supplemental support from the Great Places to Work team was fantastic. I guess then in terms of, was there any surprises, right? So when we looked at the results themselves, right, first and foremost, it's broken down into very digestible content, right? So broken down into the trust index with the 5 key dimensions and insights for our management team. I suppose the piece that probably surprised us a little was when we looked at the credibility and camaraderie scores, right? For us, we were concerned that as we deliver messages to our teams and as we grew as a site, one of the things that we had always prided ourselves on was that we were open, honest, and irrespective of what function you worked in, every employee was hearing the message the same way. And it was really refreshing to hear that that's what rang true for a lot of our teams, even in that remote setting, right? And secondly, in terms of camaraderie, I suppose it was that overwhelmingly positive sentiment that we had done a good job of onboarding new hires, of training them remotely, of making them feel part of that culture. And that was a huge boon for us, I suppose, as a leadership team, to see that whether you're in finance, engineering, sales, marketing, operations, everyone was getting that same kind of experience and sentiment. So that was the key takeaway for us, that we're doing something right.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and look, it's like that enforcement of the journey you've been on and what you're doing is a really important thing, because when you think about improvement, it's about the balance of the positives as well as the areas that we can look on in terms of improvement. Just Irene Garcia asked, and thank you very much for the compliments to the team. Really appreciate it. Being an Irish person, we struggle, right, with compliments. But we'll take it, right? We'll take it. We do appreciate that, and we've really enjoyed the partnership that we've had with yourselves as well. Irene Garcia asks, in terms of the process, right, to get the survey sent to employees. So Irene, it's sort of sign up. You'll have a project manager that'll support you through the program, help you build out a project plan. The survey then is run typically through business email addresses or employees' email addresses. You select the survey to go live. And the survey lands in that person's inbox on that particular day. And Mary White has asked about sort of templates around positioning and supporting you, and we'll be able to support you with some positioning pieces as well, Mary, just how you position it with the business. But you'll have a program manager that'll support you through the process and help you kind of position it up front. So, no problem, Mary, you're very welcome. So following on then from what Jamie said there, Ciara, right? So the results are presented, and we're getting great validation in terms of the work that we've been doing in Cloudera, which is really important. What are the learnings that you're taking with you from the survey into the people plan, if you like, for Cloudera?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, I mean, it's what we found even since, it's been fantastic now to leverage the results in terms of how do we drive this into our talent attraction, engagement and retention. With regards to, I suppose, what Jamie said around some of the surprises, I'm probably one of the biggest believers in strengths-based development. I think it's really important for us to look at, okay, were there any things that we see as gaps that we need to develop on, but actually more focusing on those key strengths that we say, right, how do we now, we've built that camaraderie, we have a very strong element of trust in Cloudera, and not to lose sight of that. So we've now clear focus in terms of, as we drive forward, as we continue to grow and scale, how do we continue to focus on, maintaining that standard, if not evolving that as we scale as well. With regards to, I suppose, our engagement of employees, leveraging that trust index and those key 5 pillars, we're constantly growing and evolving. So we've built our Cloudera code, which is our values, right? But now leveraging that, we've built it, it's there. How do we further enhance that? How do we look at where we are from that trust index perspective, and further build out our employee value proposition? So that will be key for us in terms of some of the results and the learnings from those. With regards to actually just the certification itself, as an example, if we talk about our talent team and our recruitment teams, being able to leverage now that we are certified and we've reached that benchmark, we're already seeing some of the results of that. So talking to some of our leaders in the recruitment space, an awful lot of feedback already, just from candidates and within Ireland and actually outside of Ireland as we're recruiting across the globe, in terms of recognizing that we publicized it, they're seeing the branding. Also created an awful lot of content in terms of their social posts and their job postings on social media, leveraging all those fantastic branding elements that you've provided to us. From a data perspective, we're tracking it, and they're seeing a lot more traffic in terms of those particular social postings with regard to the branding as well. So, looking at it from that perspective, that it's being highlighted, we're seeing it in terms of the figures, the 40,000 views per post with the Great Place to Work certification as well. So again, it's twofold. One, on the learning side internally, driving that employee value proposition. How do we drive our culture and our values forward, leveraging the trust index and the results, and also then leveraging the branding piece in terms of really attracting talent and driving that piece.
It's brilliant, yeah, and it's great that the activation of the brand that you've been doing is landing. And that's a key part of it as well. Is if we go back to the Irish thing, is let's not be shy about celebrating the achievement. Yep. Let's make sure we activate it, and it's great that it's landing in terms of some of the results. So that's great to hear, Ciara. I think a similar question here from Frederica, Deirdre, and Paula, which is just around number of employees, and if you have less than 20 employees, this program will work for you as well. So you can be certified as a Great Place to Work with less than 20 employees. So I hope that's useful to all of you, and please kind of have a chat with us directly, and we'll talk you through how that works. So this is not just a large company thing. This is for small companies, medium companies as well, companies that are scaling. So it's there for you. Jamie, you talked about the Centre of Excellence. And the role that Cloudera plays. And I think you touched on it a bit at the start. How has this been useful in terms of, because we have a number of organizations that are part of a global network, if you like. So how has this been useful in terms of that positioning of Cloudera in terms of the global business?
Yeah, I think, again, multiple ways in which this can be beneficial, right? So for us, and it's kind of following on from the questions you're getting in there, Cathal, around kind of when is the right time and the number of employees. For us, the fact that we built to kind of that multidisciplinary site, we really wanted this to be a project run by the team, right? And the project team that supported this, it wasn't HR, it wasn't operations specifically. There was individuals from across the business in different functions. So it was a great opportunity for folks to kind of work cross-functionally, right? And showcase the power of that collective team, give people the chance to step out of their day job and recognize the work, and even take that step back and understand what we've done over the last number of years. That the cultural kind of survey and documentation that we prepared, it shone a light on what we've accomplished, right? And we've almost taken this as an opportunity to really celebrate the professional and personal accomplishments of the team, right? So often teams can be kind of inhibited by being overly humble, right? But I think this process allows you to say, look at what we have accomplished as a team practically, right? It showcased to us, right? And internally it showcased to our kind of global community in Cloudera how much we have accomplished and how we've embraced the culture that Cloudera wants to drive, right? So you talked earlier about kind of being pioneering, right? To us, we wanted to show that and emphasize that we have that willingness, that commitment to go above and beyond the day job and be pioneering, right? So we want to be the first mover, have that first mover advantage, and kind of showcase that a relationship with Great Place to Work can be something driven here from Ireland. And our next step, candidly, is to go bigger, right? How can we showcase that Ireland is the center and will be the kind of driving force for this program on a global scale?
Brilliant. Thanks, Jamie. We have a question in from Anna O'Flanagan. I think it's related to the action plan from the survey. And the question is, would you drip feed information back to employees before you figured out the full plan? Or did you kind of lock down the full plan and then communicate it with employees? I suppose, how do you approach your action planning from the survey?
Yeah, well, I guess in terms of from the first perspective, we build ourselves on transparency. So, again, because from the very outset, from the pre-coms, we brought the employees on the journey with us. We were very transparent in the results as and when they came in, making sure that it was, in the same time that we got them, we took the time to digest them and presented them out. And then in terms of action planning, I guess at a high level, we've shared some high level plans about how we want to continue driving a lot of the strong pillars that we are performing in and continue that. We've also, some elements, there have been some, to me, actually one of the most fantastic parts of the survey is the open text field. I think you get an awful lot of insight from employees there as well. So we've been able to, certainly from a HR perspective, look at some of the key elements that we could look at, low hanging fruit that we could action quickly. But I think overall we shared high level plan. And then as we continue to grow, I think kind of stage by stage in terms of how we'll build it out, Jamie. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, like it's a combo of both, really. There's be open and show everything that has been responded, because this was for the team, it wasn't for management. This is an employee-based survey. We wanted to drive some quick wins, so there were some easy things in there that we could programmatically achieve in a very short space of time. There are suggestions in there that involve company-wide change, right? So like cards on the table, we have to go and look and seek for sponsorship on some of those things, but at least people are hearing that their voices have been heard, right? And that they have that sense that we are listening, and that if we're going to drive institutional change, that can come from the employees. It doesn't need to be always top down.
Yep, absolutely. And I think sort of related to that question, Aoife Lawler is, and I think you touched on, Ciara, in terms of the EVP and what you're looking to do, but looking for what specific action areas are you looking to do in Cloudera on the back of the survey, or even some of those key areas of the people plan? I think would be great to hear, Ciara, if that's okay.
Yeah. I see. So again, some of them were quick wins, as Jamie said. So some of them were, directly related to what we could influence at a site leadership perspective. With regards to, we had some very strong feedback. We've very strong benefits offerings, but we'd somewhere we could drive enhancements, and we've actually, I think things like that, where you can action it quickly, we actioned very quickly. We came out of the gates fast. We sought sponsorship very quickly, and we actioned those. And that was primarily around, where we could drive more. We're growing. We had comprehensive, we would have felt benefits packages, but we've attracted a lot of talent from a lot of tech companies. So getting that feedback on where we could drive further changes around those programs, we've actioned some of those already. At a higher level, in terms of, I think, the employee value proposition, we're looking at that kind of more holistically as well, right? I think now more than ever out of pandemic, everyone is why is Cloudera for me, or why is this company for me, and what's in it for me? So we're leveraging the results to build that. We're building out a bigger program around what is the employee value proposition for our recruitment teams to leverage, but also for us internally from retention. And that will drive into bigger programs like looking at communication, looking at trust, looking at the culture and how that culture is evolving and changing, right? Are our values that we've established keeping up with that? Do we need to tweak? We're not afraid of change here. Even in the last 18 months, we redefined what the core values are for Cloudera. So we'll continue to enhance and drive those as well and feed that into our employee value proposition. So some specifics, but at a higher level, looking at kind of building more from it. And as we grow, continuing to do this year on year, checking in as how we're progressing. And it's great having those checkpoints as we go forward, I think.
Super, Ciara. And Anne-Marie, I hope that answers the question you've just posed there on the chat as well. And we hear a lot about kind of building your EVP, right, and how we go to market to attract talent, and it's just so important whatever we say externally matches the lived reality internally, and it's an authentic culture. So I think that sort of focus on building the internal culture, trying to get that right. We're never perfect. There's no such thing. We keep improving, and then kind of using some of those key learnings then to go and activate externally, I think is a great way to do it. I know Irene has asked about timing, in terms of timing to do this, and Irene, we're happy to talk to you directly, but we've no set window where you have to survey, if you like, so we can certify you within 6 weeks from start to finish. So feel free to chat about that. Anne Marie has asked, how did you set? Now here we are being Irish, right? So this is a tough one for us. This is a tough one for either we're good at it or we struggle with it, right? But how did you celebrate within the company in terms of the achievement?
Yeah, we're good at this bit. Go Jim, you can, yeah.
So,
All right.
I guess that there was a couple of different ways, right? So it was interesting timing, because you think of the traditional ways of celebrating in Ireland, it's like, let's get everyone together and have a session, right? But like, given where we are from a pandemic point of view, that wasn't necessarily on the cards, right? So we had to get a bit creative, right? So first and foremost, it was, let's get everyone together on a town hall, right? Let's have everyone hear this directly, have our executive team come on and walk through why this has been so employee centric, but also such a great journey for us as a team. I think what we wanted to do then was obviously mark each phase in the journey. So whether it was the certification, the best workplace for women, or the recent best workplace awards, it's how do we ensure that people feel part of that? So we sent tokens out to everybody to mark that, chocolate, bit of vino, all that kind of good stuff, that everyone felt that there was something in this for them. The other big thing is obviously leveraging the brand of this, right? So we want to go big on that, right? So Cloudera isn't, as I said, a household name in the market yet. So we've instilled it on signatures, on talent profiles, on job specifications, out on LinkedIn, social media forums, publishing blogs. And those blogs are not about Kira or I. Those blogs are not about the team that ran the project. It's about the site and making sure everyone in the site feels part of the success here, right? Because it was absolutely the team that have drove this, and that's why we've been so keen to kind of celebrate it. And we have more to do, right? So we're just back into our office in the last week or two. So I think over time we'll start to see people arrive back in, and we'll do something here on site to celebrate with everyone when we have the cohort of people together.
Brilliant. And it's so important that we celebrate achievement, and often we move from quarter to quarter and what's the next battle, and we'll take that on. But it's so important as a team to kind of sit back, celebrate, acknowledge where we're at. Not perfect, we've more to do, but acknowledge where we're at and kind of go again. That's great, and it's great to hear about vino and chocolate as well, which is really important. You referenced there people coming back on site. Where are you at the moment in Cloudera in terms of, is it a hybrid way of working, or what's happening at the moment with Cloudera?
Yeah, so we're just opening the offices now. It's on a voluntary basis. Where yes, look, times have changed. So as a company, fully supportive of looking at that hybrid model. So we're cautiously optimistic in terms of opening the offices. I think there's a few people in. I think people are getting in. We're into our new offices here in Cork, which are pretty snazzy. It's my first day in today as well. So that's very much our approach. But it'll be all about meeting the employee where they're at. So where we can possibly make it, once we're productive and producing the results as expected, we're happy to support employees in whatever capacity they feel best suits them from a work perspective. Yeah. So
very good. And I know Breen is saying in the chat here, he can't believe we've got this long without mentioning Cork.
We're leaving the last 20 minutes for that, right?
It's 20 minutes to be completely dedicated to around the real Republic of Cork, because we know where the real Republic is, right? And somebody else is saying, "Here we go," as we're chatting, we're chatting about Cork. Ciara, when we spoke a few weeks back, you mentioned about the 4-day week piece that you were doing in Cloudera. What is that, and kind of what are you currently doing around that? What's the thinking?
Yeah. So I suppose to lend context on it, it came from when obviously COVID and in the pandemic at the outset. So we'd created initially a work from home code, right? So it was, pledge family first, pledge to respect boundaries. But I think as with every company, we saw lines can get very much blurred. People were putting in an awful lot of hours, and we introduced a program. It was called our Unplug program, and that's essentially what this is. It was initially for kind of a 6-month period where every 2 to 3 weeks, the company, as a benefit outside of any annual leave, offers an extra day for everyone to take downtime. So we rolled it out as a global policy, where we try and get the company to literally, I suppose, shut down for that day. Of course, having one eye on the customer, we have to flex, we have to be agile with the approach of it. But it's been a hugely successful program. I think key thing, again, as we always say, we had, support from exec leadership down in terms of really, their behaviors and them taking the time out. So what it is now, it's been extended twice. It's every kind of 3 weeks or so where Cloudera gives you a day to do as you please, take downtime. We have a very mature approach to business. We all know what we need to achieve. We know the deadlines are there, but it's just giving people that time. And I think where possible, getting the vast majority over the organization to take those days at the same time, just lets people just breathe and take downtime. We've really supported it. I think the communication from the outset, there was a bit of work in it. I think with any program like this, having to be agile, we have customers, we have product releases, tweaking the program where needed. But in overall, I think the feedback has been that it's been just hugely beneficial. And then we've been communicating it out. All the town halls we have, it's what if Clouderans been up to on Unplugged days. So extended right now through to the end of 2022. I think we've had 4 to 5 days already since January in terms of Unplug offerings, and they'll continue, and no doubt we'll go beyond. I think it's been one of probably the highlights in terms of employee engagement feedback we've had with regards to that program.
Brilliant, Ciara. Thanks for that. I actually love the branding of Unplug. Like the branding, the things that you do is so important to just create that buzz internally, but also then you can activate it externally in terms of that EVP piece, which is great to hear. Gillian from Macron-na-Ferna asked a question actually up front. Well, a few questions. So in terms of how long does it take to get certified? 6 weeks. I think you spoke about the buy-in and how you got the buy-in from the leadership team. And she asks a great question here, which is there anything that you would do differently? That if you're, I suppose you're looking to survey again, of course, but is there anything you would have done differently, or would you have approached it in a different way? Any lessons learned?
Oh, I don't want to say we did it all right, but yeah, it's just,
here we're not perfect, are we? Oh God.
I think if we start with that that dilemma of local versus international, that's always a kind of a question that we were posing to ourselves. We probably spent a lot of time kind of mulling on that. I think the other thing is making sure that everyone has the chance to contribute as much as possible, right? So we probably picked our project team quickly. We nominated the team to support very quickly. And then we probably had 80% of our documentation ready to go and prepared in a very short space of time. It's giving that time to prepare ourselves, right? The other thing is probably be pragmatic, right? Insofar as if you're embarking on this journey, you're not going to be at the scale of organizations that can commit people to a full-time Great Place to Work program. Right, that's the reality of it. The individuals that are supporting this project will be business practitioners from within the team across different functions, or however you decide to coordinate. So you have to be realistic in your ambitions as well, that the reality is you will have to do this as a side hustle to your day job. So I think that partnership with Great Places to Work and that kind of intellectual honesty to say we can hit these deadlines, but by what time, right? We have people that will be on PTO. How do we plan around that and not overburden people, but keep the momentum going? And it's that's probably my final comment on it, is making sure that as you're going through the journey, you take the time to put your head above water, right? And actually not just be practitioners, but be project managers of this as well, right? And allow people the chance to say, right, we are communicating a vision to the team. We are telling the team why we are doing this, and we are helping people. Like, we probably, with the benefit of hindsight, it could have communicated even more. There's no such thing as not enough communication. We can communicate even more on this. They'd probably be my kind of key takeaways for next year and beyond.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, I think just one point to add on to that, just kind of reflecting as Jamie was talking as well. As the project team grew, we started with the core team, and obviously we had to pull in other people as well. I think making it known how much support is there from Great Places to Work in terms of the contacts we had. I think we partnered very well, but I think there's always more we could have leveraged, and making the wider team aware of what was there as a support, I think is key, because the team was so approachable. Did we leverage the team enough? I suppose there's always more we could have as we needed support, I think. Yeah.
Appreciate that, Ciara, and let's build on that then this year as we kind of as we build it out. There's lots of congratulations, appreciate it from Paul, Gillian. Appreciate the feedback. Hope that was useful. Jamie and Ciara, want to thank you very much for your partnership. Our team has really enjoyed interacting with Cloudera. I love the piece of kind of using the employer brand element of this to grow the corporate brand, which is sometimes a point that's forgotten about. But we really appreciate your partnership and for taking the time in terms of coming on this morning. We did about 5 minutes on Cork as opposed to the full hour. I know we're talking about doing the full hour, but we did 5 minutes anyway. We know where the real Republic is. Lots of congratulations and well wishes coming in there. So really appreciate you both for coming on and sharing your journey. I think we just have one slide to show up, if that's all right, Marina. So yeah, so just to say sort of a next sort of announcement that's coming from Great Place to Work, the best workplaces in tech. List is coming out on the 26th of May in the Irish Times and the Examiner, or the Cork Examiner, as I believe it is known as. And your last day to get certified to be eligible, if you're a tech workplace, is the 27th of April. So there's a bit of urgency there for tech companies that are on the call that might be interested in coming on board, surveying, being certified, and then featuring on the best workplaces in tech list. For all other industries, you can survey at any time. We'll work with a survey date that suits yourselves, and it's typically about 6 weeks from start to finish in terms of being certified, and you'll get lots of information in terms of your culture, what you're doing well, as Cloudera have stated, and of course what the learnings are and how you can improve your culture. I want to thank everyone for joining us. The sun is starting to come out. Thank you, Jamie and Ciara, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone.
Pleasure. Thanks, Carl.